Right, legends. Let me just put the music, nicely, softly in the background. Welcome to another live stream. Let's analyze the price of Bitcoin. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. I think it's Thursday. A week has just absolutely run away from me, legends. I'm so busy with other things, but I thought let me go live quickly, give a little bit of an update. Almost 2:30 here in the afternoon, turning into summer, getting nice and hot. Great to see you all here. Thanks for joining the stream. And right, let's get into the technical analysis. The reason why everyone joins the live stream. Some technical analysis. What are we looking at? What is the probabilities? Are we still going to take the high that we've now? The reason all-time high. Are we going to take that high again? Or are we going to have a deeper correction that's going to take the lows again? Right. That's what we need to discuss in this live stream. What are the probabilities of us claiming $107,000 again? Or are we just going to form a nice little sideways corrective structure, go take out the high, or couple of scenarios I want to discuss over here. So remember to smash up that like button if you haven't done so already. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter live stream today, so unfortunately I won't have a lot of time for many altcoin requests. We'll see if we can get through a couple of them. And right, let me know in the comments, are you having a great day? Are you still losing money? Are you bleeding out your account? Have you made some insane profits? Okay, that's the deal. Right, Lucian, welcome to the live stream. Hi Dewald, hi all, Stiffer1, always great to see you here. Mr. Mod in the house. Hi Dewald, yo Dewald, have a look at Metis and Sui, thanks. Right, we're first going to do a little bit of technical analysis here on the price of Bitcoin. Shill, hi peeps, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for the comments. Hi Dewald, like button has been destroyed. Absolute legend, thank you so much. Actually took a nice little trade. I must say, shout out to Andy. You know, I have to give a shout out to Andy because I know when Andy takes one of my trades, I give him a shout out, and when I take one of Andy's trades, you know, I need to give him a shout out as well. But I mean, it was just a beautiful structure here too. Oof, and now we are still rampaging here to the upside, but I already closed the position. I was so happy with the profits. Get in, get out. Okay, and this was basically the scenario that Mr. Andy Jack himself highlighted. 1, 2, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it in his live stream as well. You have a 3, you form a 4, and you have your last leg here to the downside. This is where you long, okay, and this is where you take profits. Beautiful trade in the bag. That's the momentum, guys. That's the momentum. The fact that it's going higher, yes, you could have had a TP1 and now you're TPing yourself out of your position because you don't know how this is going to stretch its legs here to the upside. But usually when you have a 5-wave structure down, the minimum requirement for a retracement is the 0.382. Okay, so just want to do this. When I take a fib from the high to the low of the structure, this is the trade that I took, guys. I don't care if it's going higher. I don't care. I'm actually now looking for a shorting opportunity, by the way. Right, this was the trade, guys. You get in because you know you have a 3-wave structure here. We were trading over here, and you know, a lot of conversations inside of the Legends Pro community this morning, and I said, well, if this is going to remain a 3-wave structure and we do continue up, we have to at least tap a flat target here to the upside. If we create another low and we have a 5-wave structure, well, now this is the danger. This structure can reject anywhere. It can reject anywhere. It doesn't have a target. The minimum target is the 0.382. So I was just looking to get in over here and get out over here. That's it. Successful trade in the bag. And that was the trade that I took on Bluffin. As you guys can see, let me just make it nice and big so everyone can see the levels. Okay, so basically my entry price was 267. Okay, 267, which is right over here. That was my entry. And I closed my trade at 122.187. Okay, just before the police comes, like right over there. That's where I closed my trade, basically at the highs. Okay, just to show everyone, let me just undo that, take this out the way. All I wanted was to claim the highs, which we did. Right, That's my trade for the day, guys. I don't have to get into another trade. I'm happy with one successful trade for the day. That's made me my profits most probably for the next couple of days. Right, so because you have, now this is the danger, legends, this is the danger. Because you have a 5-wave structure to the downside, okay? Because there's a 5-wave structure to the downside, you could easily reject at any of these levels and continue momentum to the downside. Okay, there's lots of resistance over here. Lots of resistance over here. Will we get to the golden pocket? It's fine if it wants to create a flat. I will talk about some of the Elliott wave structures that could potentially play out. Yes, you can form a flat and then fall down again. Claim the high, SFB. That's the easiest trade to get into, because usually these lower highs are the difficult ones to get into. Okay, especially now with price pumping here to the upside. I did see a little bit of bearish CVD, which now got invalidated, but there's still some bearish CVD building up against this pivot. Still bearish CVD building up against this pivot with this momentum here to the upside. So this could be an A, B, and this is now a C wave here to the upside. Okay, maybe it forms a larger 3-wave structure and then it falls down. We'll just have to analyze. Okay, so maybe before we scratch around here on the smaller time frames. Hi legends, Joan. welcome. The Elliott wave king here in the chat. Had a nice conversation with Joan the other day. Right, cool legends. So I mean, we have a little bit of an order block here. So okay, you can see we have a little bit of an order block, a little bit of resistance. Can you see there over here by the 50% Fibonacci? Okay, I mean, not impossible. But what I would like to see, okay, when you see a 5-wave move to the downside, and I take a time fib, okay, from the high to the low of the structure, well, okay, I would like the high or the end of the corrective structure to finish after the 0.382. Okay, so maybe you form a larger 3-wave structure that finishes after the minimum requirement. And usually when I see this, where the structure is still stuffing around in the zone, that is where I become very interested in shorts. If it wants to do this, I don't care. I have my levels to the downside, which I'm going to share with you now that I'm looking for a long opportunity. I am very happy to miss a trade if it does not meet my trading requirements. Very happy. Okay, so I want this push to the upside, okay, to finish after the 0.382. So maybe it rejects, forms a consolidation, maybe another little bull flaggy over there, it breaks out, okay, and then it falls to the downside. That is where I get interested in a short. Not here. There's no short for me to be taken here. Even if it falls, I don't care. It's not my rules. I have to follow my rules. Legends, the one thing that I can share with you is that I've had many private conversations with a couple of people, community members like yourself. The one thing that I have noticed is the number one thing that most people struggle with is sticking to their rules. They just want to trade every single opportunity. Okay? And you're going to struggle if you try and trade every single opportunity. You have to have a trading plan with rules that you have to follow. That is what makes you robotic about your trades. Is like the emotions is there, but the rules keep you in check. So important, guys. So important. I do not care based on my rules if price falls down. I'm happy to miss the trade. Very happy to miss the trade. If it does this, now it's following, okay, 5-wave down, 3-wave corrective structure up. It can continue momentum to the downside. Price finished after the 0.382. So, maybe a stop loss above the high. You enter, where you find the resistance in this little zone. You can be, however you want to analyze this little structure. Okay, there's a nice little point of control here by the 786 high little volume node. Maybe that is where we reject. Never know. If this forms an... Oops. Let me just take the scribble out. Okay. Guys, I always jump into education for some reason, okay? But if it forms a larger three-wave structure, you can take a trend-based fib from the low to the high to the low. You'll get your additional targets here to the upside. Maybe it aligns with one of these levels. You're like, okay, I'm going to get in, right? You build your little position, stop goes above the high, you target the lows for profit-taking area. But until I see this, I'm not interested in a short. That's it. If you want to scalp these little SFPs, by all means, you can scalp them. You know, high leverage positions, you get in, you get out, and you just scalp the little rejections from each level. I don't like to do that anymore. I used to, but it's not my style of trading anymore. Right. The market will teach you patience. And if you are not patient as a trader, you're going to give a lot of money back to the market. Okay, so that's enough preaching from me for one day. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto Princess, great to see you here. Welcome, welcome. Right. Yeah, trading every day, that's not it. Yes, Stefan, I agree with you. You know, often I will enter 2-3 trades a week. Some weeks I don't even enter any trades. You know, according to your trading plan, you have to see what you like from a rule perspective before you enter that trade. Regardless, okay, cool, legends. Now let's go into a little bit more of higher time frame analysis. So I can take this out the way. Let's take this out the way. Let's go here onto 15-minute time frame. Okay, or maybe let's start here on the 4-hour time frame. Right, so first thing I would want to discuss is that what can we be looking at? Okay, Legends, I can be honest with you over here and say I did not expect an aggressive move here to the upside. I was really, you know, three-wave structure. Oh, you have your three-wave structure. I wanted a larger three-wave structure to claim the low. But the one thing I do want to stress, when the market surprises you with a structure that you did not expect, you have to adapt quickly. You can't just be, oh, I didn't get this, now what? No. Once I saw this move here to the upside, I played longs. There was a couple of breakouts that I played to the upside. I immediately changed my strategy and said, okay, the market is here to surprise us. Even the best traders in the world, the market is here to surprise us. And yes, I will be surprised sometimes. Yes, Andy will be surprised sometimes. But when the market surprises you, you have to adapt to the new structure. It's as simple as that. Right, so now we've made this little high, and now we have a higher low over here, and we now have a higher high that took the all-time high. So we're now looking at this structure potentially being a bullish structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, for the moment, it's still a three-wave structure. For the moment, this is still a three-wave structure, which means regardless of what happens here, the probabilities are still high that you're going to claim this high again. Not guaranteed. I'm just trading probabilities, guys. You cannot end something with a three-wave structure to the upside unless it's an ending diagonal, but I mean the structure doesn't make sense from an ending diagonal perspective. But usually when I see a three-wave structure to the upside, I know that regardless of what happens here, there's a chance, okay, you're going to claim that high again. So the probabilities for the moment are still high that we're going to claim this high, because at the moment we have a three-wave structure. From a bullish perspective, just to keep it simple, okay, first structure that always carries the highest probability is a 1, 2, 3 that finished over here, and now we're busy with a 4, and we're going to go up for one more leg to complete a 5-wave structure. Unfortunately, the danger with a 5-wave structure is that this could be the end. So once price forms a 5th wave over here and it starts falling to the downside, this could be where the bull market stops. It doesn't have to form a corrective structure to continue. So it's the correction that's going to give us the clues whether it's going to continue or not. Like I'm going to explain now here on the lower time frames. Okay, there's a very important thing that I'm seeing here on the lower time frames that's now even reducing the probabilities of claiming this low. Okay, so we need to form the 5-wave structure, and based on the correction or the price action that we see after the 5-wave structure, I will then be able to determine whether we're going to claim this high again and form a larger 1, 2, and a massive third wave to the upside to continue the bull market that could last until next year, February. But until then, okay, a 5-wave structure is the highest probability. Right, so simple rules to follow here from an Elliott wave perspective is you do not want your 4th wave to go into the territory of 1. Okay, the preferred target is when you take a fib from the low to the high, maximum target is usually the 50% Fibonacci, which is already a problem. Okay, is a problemo. So your 4th wave ideally then has to bounce here on the 0.382. So what you would like to see is a 3-wave structure and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete your 5th wave. Right, this is actually the worst structure that we can expect from a bull market continuation perspective. Because, I mean, is that it? Is that it? Okay. I would prefer this correction to come down and tap this high, because that opens the door for potentially a more bullish structure. So if price comes down here and does not overlap with this pivot, there's a high chance that it's one more leg and it's done. But, okay, I'm going to discuss the probabilities of the structure. There is the chance that you're not going to get the 5-wave structure and you are going to form, okay, I'm just going to draw it out. It's going to take too long to put the, you form a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this 3 can go very high. We don't know. It just loves 618 targets. It can go 1.618, 2.618. It can rock and roll, guys. It can really rock and roll. But now, because you have a double 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, what you would expect is a 4, 5, 4, 5 to the upside. That could easily go to $175,000. Easy, no problemo. Ideally, in the structure, what you would like to see is overlap. You want to see a little bit of overlap because it's most common for double or triple or quadruple 1-2s to have overlap between the structures. Okay, and you form that channel, that pennant, for lack of a better word. And I mean, if we can get another 1-2 and another 1-2, I mean, the more bullish the momentum will be to the upside. So this is the most bullish structure that we could potentially get here on the price of Bitcoin. It should not take out the low because that will invalidate a double or triple 1-2. Okay, it is most common for double 1-2s to see that little bit of overlap, but it does not have to. So there is a chance that price forms a corrective structure, you do not see overlap, and it just goes. There's a chance. It's not a high probability chance, but it can happen. What I'm going to be looking for is that if price continues here to the upside and volume increases more than this little volume spike over there, then we could be continuing on the way up. Because in a 5-wave structure, what you would like to see in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is that this high needs to be made on lower volume. You have most volume in your 3rd wave and you have less volume in your 5th wave. So I will use a combination of volume to determine what are the probabilities as well. Because I mean, I don't want to be the person that takes all of my profits over here and price just continues and continues and continues and volume is just increasing. Okay. Right. And those are basically the probabilities. So you might be asking yourself, I know that there's people saying that, well, Dewald, what about that ABC flat? Okay. What about the ABC flat? What about this? Whoops, ABC up, and then we have ABC up, which is basically your A, B, C. What about this scenario? Okay, you have a 3-wave structure in A, you have a 3-wave structure in B, and now what if we do still claim the lows? There's a little bit of a problem that I see here, legends. A little bit of a teeny weeny little problem that I see with this structure is if I go into the smaller time frames, you want to build an impulsive, remember guys, it's a C wave to the downside. It has to have impulsive structures like this. You have to see this to the downside. Okay. And there's a little bit of a problem. Actually, a big problem. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Where's 4 and where's 5? In order to get momentum to the downside, you have to form a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This leg is missing, which tells me that this is a three-wave corrective structure, which now decreases the probabilities of just tanking absolutely to $107,000. Just a game of probabilities at the end of the day, guys. Okay, so because now we have a three-wave structure to the downside, regardless of what happens over here, it increases the probabilities at some point we're going to claim that damn high again. Okay, but it doesn't mean that we can't fall further. We can still fall a little bit further because this structure can still create a double zigzag to the downside. Okay, zigzag, connector leg, and now you form a zigzag, and then you have a larger three-wave structure, and you're still going to claim that high. So the correction can still continue. That's what I'm basically trying to highlight, but I'm specifically labeling it a correction because you have a three-wave structure. Okay, you need 4 and 5, and then a three-wave corrective, you short the shit out of that thing, and then it tanks. Absolutely, I was waiting for the short, guys. I was waiting for that short if we had one more leg here to the downside, which we didn't get. Now, we could go into a very sideways complex corrective structure. It can still take the lows. It doesn't have to take the lows. Okay. Just want to see something here on the larger time frame. Remember, guys, if you haven't smashed up that like button yet, remember to do so. Also, when I take a fixed range volume profile for this entire range that we formed here at the tippy top, okay, a good area of support. Let me just take this monstrosity out here. There we go. Okay. Good area of support is value area high. Do you guys see that little order block? Consolidation provides support above the value area high. So if price wants to make a larger three-wave structure here, it's going to be an area where I'm going to be paying attention. And then obviously the high point of the volume node over here, point of control. So, you know, it could just slice through, get acceptance back above, and then you continue momentum to the upside. So definitely areas where I will be paying attention to. Right. I would prefer this zone. I would prefer this zone because then you're going to have overlap and you're going to invalidate that fourth wave. Okay, because this could be a larger correction. Maybe it dips below, grabs all of the liquidity, and now you have the potential of a double 1-2 and then an absolute monstrosity here to the upside, but it can easily form another 1-2. Okay, triple 1-2. The more 1-2s, the better. Okay, the more 1-2s, the better. Okay, right. Right, if it is an ABC flat, right, if it is an, it can be a C wave. Okay, I'm not sure in which context. Right, hello, chartist, have a great Thursday, commonly the best day for trades. Yes, Rudy, spot on. Statistically, Thursdays are the best trading days. Nice volatility, okay. Statistically, yes, Thursdays are the best trading days. I've already had my successful trade for the day, so I'm happy. And I don't see any opportunities for me at the moment, unless I just stayed in the long, which I didn't. I already took profits. So inside of this zone, okay, we'll discuss the probabilities now inside of this zone. But I just want to point out from a larger time frame perspective, okay, so let's go here onto the 1 hour. Okay, just looking at the structure, you take a fib. Let's see if there's some confluence from the low to the high. Right, oof, nice little confluence. You have the 0.382 value area high, little consolidation area, and then you have the highs here providing support at the 50% Fibonacci. Okay, so definitely some areas of confluence to pay attention to. Right, the probabilities of doing this at the moment, is starting to decrease, guys, because of this three-wave structure that I've just identified. I mean, yeah, the market is here to surprise us. It's just a low probability. I have to trade probabilities at the end of the day. Okay. Right, now let's go on to the 15-minute time frame. And maybe before I continue with the 15-minute time frame, I just want to highlight something for those of you that do want to participate. Okay, down in the description of this video, you will see that Weeks has a competition running at the moment, and they have some amazing prizes. Let me see if I can open that. I need to see if I can open that. That's going to be epic. I did download that little sheety. Let's see. Here we go. Right, I want to show everyone. Like, Weeks has got an amazing competition. So for those of you that have used the link before to sign up, they have amazing competition running at the moment where when you select this link, okay, you will join the competition, my team, and we will trade together to share a prize pool of $1.5 million in prizes. There's also individual prizes to be won, daily wheels that you can spin to win some crypto and BTC, and also standard chance to win an iPhone 17. Absolutely amazing. You still get 20% back on the money that you deposit in your features account, and you get qualified or upgraded to VIP status 1. Nice little. So if you guys want to come and join me, I am definitely going to trade here, a little bit of scalp trading here on Weeks. Okay, so link, this is where you sign up, this is where you register for the competition. Right, for those of you, you always know best deals on Bluffin as well, and I've got BTCC. If you want to join our Legends Pro community, link always down in the description. Okay, so let's just trade how we usually trade, and you know, we can dip our toes into a little bit of prize money. Okay, so no, I'm just going to leave that level there for now. So what I am now looking at for this little structure over here, Legends, is, I think for now, there's a lot of scenarios. I'm just going to keep it simple. Okay, when you have a three-wave structure down, what do you label it as? You know, that's the question. What is this? Well, it can only be a, okay, or it can be a W. If it's an A, then you wanted this momentum to the upside to go and tap the 0.9 Fibonacci, which it did not. So I'm labeling this more a W. Okay, so without getting too technical, whether it's an ABC or a WXY, you're looking for a three-wave structure. So let's do the following. Okay, I think I actually have it mapped out here. This is, I think, the scenario that I'm looking at the moment. The highest probable scenario. It can still morph into something that carries on a lot longer, but let's just keep it simple over here, because I'm not going to trade the structure, I'm going to trade the levels. Okay, so in this scenario, and something that I also shared this morning with the Legends Pro community, is that when you have an A, B, C to the downside, it gives you a W. Okay, you have a complex corrective structure in a X. Most importantly, when you take a fib from the high to the low, your X wave did not tap the 0.7, which means that your Y wave to the downside has a high chance of taking out the low, where you form a larger three-wave structure. If X went higher and tapped the 0.7 Fibonacci, I would have spoken about triangles. A, B, C, D, E, continuation to the upside, high chance you're not going to take the low. But because the X wave did not tap the 0.7, no problemo. We can go and grab that low, no problemo. Okay, so what I'm currently looking at from a structural perspective is that because we have a three-wave move down, it basically means that the correction can continue and it can still become very complex. So I'm just keeping it simple here with one scenario I'm going to share today. And as price develops, I might have different scenarios based on price action that I see. But you have a three-wave structure down in a W. You have a complex corrective structure in a X that did not tap the 0.7. And now to complete the Y wave, what you would like to see is a B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C wave to the downside. Okay. And the reason I left those higher time frame levels here, you can see that you have your value area high, your 0.382, where you could potentially finish a 3-wave structure and get the bounce to go and complete the 5th wave to the upside. Now, you can also go and work out quickly the targets. Let's take this FIP out, because regardless, guys, whether there's this, I mean, you know, I can form a larger B, tap the flat, still fall down. Let's just keep it simple, okay? So, trend-based FIP targets. You take your trend-based FIP, you take your trend-based FIP from the high to the low to the high of X. You drag it across, okay? And now you have your targets. Where can Y end? Where are you going to end, little brother? Where are you going to end? Well, these are the levels that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Ideally, in a sideways corrective structure, in a WXY, you do not tap the 0.618. Ideally, okay? Maximum target usually for a WXY is the 1.382. Maximum target. Most common target is the 1-to-1 extension, which is very close to this naked point of control, or this point of control over here. Okay, the minimum requirement for your Y wave is to take the low. That's it, because it could do this 3-wave up and a B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we continue. But it took the low. So minimum target 786, perfect alignment with a value area high, and then 1-to-1 extension, most common targets. So basically, guys, what I'm trying to highlight here is I will be keeping an eye on all of these levels. Swing failure patterns, who knows, right? We'll see how this plays out or materializes. I mean, this is correct. I just want to stress and I want to highlight that this corrective structure can still continue, okay? For now, to keep it simple, once you have a 3-wave move down, it could be finished. And then you form 5 waves back up to go and complete that 5th wave that I've discussed on the higher time frame. But, now this is where the but comes in, okay? You could go down in a 3-wave, you could go back up in a 3-wave, and then you go back down in a 5-wave structure. And then what do you get? Okay, can you guys see how complex it can get? Okay, then you form an A, B, C. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, because of this 3-wave structure, I don't know which corrective structure is going to play out. All I can do is trade the levels, like I did this morning. That's all I can do. But I do know that the probabilities is still high, regardless of what happens here to the downside. We're going to take that high again. And if we go back up with a 3-wave structure, well, I'm telling you now, I'm going to be longing this structure, and I'm going to say, well, the probabilities are high, we're still going to take out that high. So it depends on how the price moves. Right, just to work out the probabilities at the end of the day. But from a simplicity perspective, once you have a 3-wave structure down, there's always a chance you're going to continue to the upside. And this is what happened here on the 4-hour time frame, guys. This is what happened here. This is what caught us, or caught me off guard. I'm not going to say us, I'll just say me. Okay. Let's take this out the way. Well. After you formed the high, guess what? You formed a 3-wave structure to the downside. When we saw the 3-wave structure, I did say the probabilities are high. We're going to claim that high again. I was looking for a larger 3-wave structure to claim the lows again. A beautiful, larger 3-wave structure. And then it stopped here, climbed up in a 5-wave structure, beautiful 3-wave corrective structure, and now we're back at all-time highs. You can see that it can surprise you. As long as you have a 3-wave structure to the downside, it doesn't have to form another leg. It doesn't have to, because there's already a 3-wave structure. It can go take the high again. Right. I think I've basically gone through all the probabilities and scenarios here at the moment. Okay, so let's go through some comments. Still bleeding, but still positive. Hello, chat. Okay, I've gone through that already. Mr. Rudy, always great to see you here in the stream. Hello, Dewald. Majaba. Welcome. Can BC flat to claim hundreds if price from diagonal as wave 1? Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Oof, but that's going to take a long time. Okay, but let's draw it out. I think I see what you mean, Joan, is that this could be something like this. Oops. Oh, but I mean, there's... Right, 3 wave down. That becomes your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if it has the steam to go down here. I don't have if it has the steam, unless this becomes your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to take a lot of time for the structure to form. I'm not giving the scenario the highest probability. Yes, it can play out. There's just still a lot that needs to happen for the structure. Okay, it's too early to talk about it. I like to talk about diagonals when the 4th wave is in already. Okay, triangles, diagonals, expanding, contracting, preferably. I'm not sure, Joan, if this is what you meant. I'm sure you'll share it inside of our pro community, because you always share all of your technical analysis there in our pro community. And for those of you that don't know, Joan is a really good technical analyst, especially from an Elliott wave perspective. Okay, he likes to count the 5-minute time frame. Okay, I don't enjoy doing that anymore, guys. Right, so Joan is the absolute monster when it comes to smaller time frame technical analysis from an Elliott wave perspective. Right. H, could it be a flat in a WXY where we're going to take the all-time high then down again in this lows? Yes, okay. This is basically what I highlighted over here. Okay, so let's say we form a WXY. Let's say we form that WXY. Now, because it's a 3-wave structure from an education perspective, because this is a 3-wave structure, you can label it as a A. And because A has a 3-wave structure, it has to tap a flat target. Okay, just going to keep it simple here. So if you take a fib from the high to the low of where the structure is going to end, the minimum requirement for B is to tap a flat. Let me put on the 0.9, switch this one off. Okay, I need to actually just have my levels prepared already from a template perspective. I just always... Okay, I'll get there, guys. I'll get there. Right, so if you have a 3-wave structure down in an A wave and you go back up for a 3-wave in a B wave, it has to tap at least the 0.9. But it easy can go and claim the highs. So you form another flat, claims the highs, and now you come back down in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you form a larger 3-wave structure that actually claims the high. Most important, what I will be looking for is this move. Is this move an impulsive structure, or is it a 3-wave structure? If it's a 5-wave structure, it could be that final 5th leg to the upside. If it's a 3-wave structure, I'm labeling it as a B, and I'm going to be looking for longs. So yes, because A is a 3-wave structure, B has to tap the 0.9. If A forms a 5-wave structure, then it doesn't have to. And that's what happened now today. Okay, so if I look at this small little structure here and labeling this an A wave, okay, if I label this as an A wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B does not have to take the high or tap the 0.9 from the high to the low. It doesn't have to. It can reject anywhere. Okay, it can form an A, B, C and just fall without tapping a flat target. Hope that makes sense. Right, let's see if there's anything else. ETH, please, guys. I've unfortunately run out of time. I did say I'm going to keep it short. Let's see if we can maybe jump into ETH here at the moment. So what I'm looking here on ETH is I can also see a beautiful 3-wave structure to the downside. 1, 2, 3, which increases the probabilities you're going to take that high at some point again. But you could still form a larger corrective structure. So from a bullish perspective is you could say that you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you take your fib from the low to the high, and interesting area is always we've already tapped the 0.382, but it's basically this zone over here. So you have a trend that you've broken out from. Okay, so you could say, well, I'm going to buy the retest. Okay, so let's go here onto the 4-hour time frame, just keeping it simple. Okay, Right, you have an impulsive structure to the upside, you want to see a corrective structure, you retest the trend and you get continuation back to the upside. Maybe that's a little trend that's forming there, you can play the breakout. I think from a timing perspective, it potentially is too early, okay, for this to be the end. So this is always, guys, I take time into consideration from the high, from the low to the high. Well, this tells me not yet. Not yet. Okay, because this correction can still continue, and after the 0.382, if we are still inside of the zone, we have not claimed the lows, that becomes a great buying opportunity. Maybe you have a bigger trend forming there. Maybe this is your A wave, okay, or your W, okay. It still creates a three-wave structure, okay, just to keep it simple. Guys, for me, structures are very important before I consider longs or shorts, okay, because it gives me directional bias. And I always consider time. And if, like I said in the beginning of the live stream, if ETH does this and it just continues to the upside, I'm happy to miss the trade. My spot bags will smile because I'm well positioned from a spot perspective. I'll just miss the potential leverage trade here to the upside or swing trade to the upside because I have to follow my rules. Just, I have to. So if we form a larger three-wave structure and it's after the 0.382, then I get interested in a long position. Yeah, I'm not interested in any longs unless you're scalping this 5-minute, 15-minute time frame. Okay, but this impulse, okay, needs to finish at least, the correction needs to finish at least after the 12th of October. And until then, I'm not interested in a long, especially from a swing trade perspective. So the most bullish case scenario is that this is impulsive, this is corrective, and we get continuation to the upside. Right. And for the moment, here on ETH, we do have a three-wave structure to the downside. Okay, so just looking here at the 4-hour time frame, for now, this looks very three-wavy, which increases the probabilities you're going to take that high again at some point, regardless of what happens over here. Okay, unless we form, diagonals, like Jonas also pointed out, but there's still a lot that needs to happen before we can talk about diagonals. Okay, so I need to make a rule. I will start talking about diagonals when the fourth waves are in. Otherwise, I'm not even going to consider them because I know people, patterns, your brain is programmed to see patterns, and sometimes you can see the pattern way too early, and then it has low probability of playing out because diagonals actually has low probability than a normal three-wave corrective structure or 5-wave impulsive structures. And when you do, which price should you consider for stop loss? Just smash the like button, everyone. Hey Dewald, how do you trade in other exchanges when you do technical analysis in Binance chart? Which price should you consider for the stop loss? So if this is, for example, okay, well, this is the Bybit perpetual, I think, that I'm using over here. So if I had to enter this trade, okay, I would look for the end of this week. If my stop loss had to go there, for example, because I'm playing a long entry, I will look for this week on the exchange. Okay. I trade the chart in front of me, guys. I don't know how else I can say it, but if I had to play a long like I did this morning, when I played this long over here, based on my technical analysis that you see right now, I just clicked enter on, regardless of what exchange I'm using. I click enter. And on that exchange, I will put my stop loss below the wick. So I trade this chart. I don't care what the exchange says. Okay. It's the best way that I can explain it. Right. Ooh, getting some nice aggressive momentum. We've also broke the trend here to the upside. Right. Nice little D-line strategy. But guys, like I said, I don't care if it continues. I really don't care if it continues. I was very happy with taking profits over here. Very happy. The fact that it's continuing, by all means, for those pro members that did get into the trade, that Andy highlighted, shout out to you, Andy. Absolute legend. Okay, 5 waves down. Okay, minimum profit taking area at the 0.382. Now it's broken out, did not get acceptance back inside the trend. right? If you are still in this trade, please remember to take profits to the upside. Can it continue to the upside? Yes, you could still form a larger B wave to the upside. B, okay, this is a, this is a B, and then you go back down for C. So yes, it can still take the high, right? But it's not guaranteed, and this is why day trading is so difficult for most people. Okay, because they don't take profits. Guys, I was happy with this move. I can tell you now, that was my trade for the day. Very happy. I got in, I got out. I don't care what price does after that. I don't care. Okay, now look for the next trading opportunity. I'm now looking for a short. Okay, but I know it's too early to short. It's too early. I can't short at the moment from a timing perspective. This momentum is too aggressive to the upside. So I have to wait for my next trading opportunity, for my next shorting opportunity. I have to wait. So I wait. Right, legends, thank you so much for joining the live stream, smashing up that like button. Remember, before I close down, right, Weeks have a $1.5 million competition. There's a team prize that we're all going to dip our fingers into, and there's also individual prizes that you can win. Also that iPhone 17 BTC win daily prizes. So go and make sure that you register for the competition here. And right, thanks for watching the live stream. Until the next one, cheers for now.